Hey everybody, welcome back to Ready Steady Play. So we've just finished playing Hard City, and now we're going to sit and talk about the game and how we felt about it.
It was hard.
Yeah, was it hard to be the villain, Ollie?
No, that was easy. That was playing to character. That was just so simple. The hard bit was
sitting there while we deliberated.
Yeah,
police tactics.
Jesus Christ! I mean, there's two of you.
Mm-hmm.
But
you can play. You can play with up to 4 of us.
Oh God, that'd be some form of hell.
Quite possibly, because then you have to coordinate so much more stuff. Because each person has one cop.
I have to admit, I was a bit amused at first as to the turn order, because I only get 4 cards. It's really difficult to get a good hand size. And there's a lot you can do that sort of reduces that, but I think I did pretty well.
I think you did very well. Yeah. I mean, it was not at all easy.
It came right down to that last dice roll.
Yeah, really...
I defy you. Roll that again. I defy you, sir.
Yeah. And all you needed was for him to get one of these as well.
You did.
And I was actually going to suggest...
better.
I was actually going to suggest it might have been better to spend 1 point to move Blast in here and stun it, so you only needed 1 damage to kill it instead of 2.
Oh, yeah.
But I was kind of like, oh, I'm not sure. I mean... And then I was like, probably.
Hey, I got this. I
was like, Michael's got this. He'll be fine. I see he did it to me in Dracula. I'm sure he can do it again. I really enjoyed how close that was.
That was, yeah. It was definitely...
Yeah.
I thought you had it ages ago, if I'm honest, Ollie.
Yeah, you made us work so hard for it.
Yep, and bloody hell, did you make me wait patiently while you were figuring out how to...
And so it's a one versus many game. Obviously, there is always, to a degree, in a one versus many when you are the one, a feeling of sort of like tension.
The Matrix has
because
Neo.
It's like you've got... Because everybody else is sort of discussing what's going on, and we don't actually have a hand of cards either. All of our cards are public information. So Ollie's the only one with perfect information in this game, and that makes it very tense, because he can hear us deliberating and hear us planning, and he can hear us hitting all the right notes and all the wrong notes and trying to decide, this tug of war and which way we're going to go. I've been in that seat before, and it can be very tense.
Yeah.
Did you find that?
To be honest... tense for a bit, but then I just started goofing off and just cursing at you guys randomly. I mean, it's a lot easier when you can just lose yourself in a character. But yeah, it was very frustrating when I had a hand of cards. I'm like, I can do so many things. Just let me have my goddamn turn. Stop talking. Stop. And especially when it's like, are you committing? There's me trying to needle you. I want to go. Let me have a turn.
Yeah. Yeah, and...
Because you guys have such an opportunity to filibuster, and it's like, we could do this, or we could do this, and you can... Because there's no time limit, you get to work out every single move and decide it between you. Whereas I've just got, I think this is going to work. So if I don't have a good selection of cards, it kind of makes my actions a lot more limited. And the only advantage I've got to there is you don't know what I've not played. And it was literally the hand before the last that I ran out of cards. I was quite happy. I mean, there was one card I got that sort of made that for me. That was Evil Master Plan. There's one of these in the deck, but just drawing 3 cards is awesome.
Yeah. When you had that, that was very good. Yeah.
That came up at the perfect time for me, and yeah, there's a few really really cool ones in here that I just there's 2. I stand corrected. I only saw 1 last time.
Well, I'll tell you what I really enjoyed, and I really enjoyed the cinematic actions track, and I specifically enjoyed it because of the moments it gave rise to. My 2 favorite moments of the whole game were based off this, is when I reversed the car over all your zombies, and it was when...
terrible.
That was amazing.
That was so funny.
That was the laziest mutant death ever. They were just lying on their back.
It's so funny as well because it's like last ride. It shows him like driving the car, and I just go and I was like,
you just took the handbrake off.
Yeah, exactly.
Your parking alarm must have been going nuts.
And I really enjoyed when we just nuked Fubar off the face of the earth. It was just like, here's a death from above, followed by burst fire.
He just didn't have a chance.
It's
I didn't get to use him.
He had to go.
But that's what I mean. We had to use our 2 big attacks because if we just plinked away at him, his damage reduction is 1 damage off every attack. And of course, as you saw from the game, it's rolling more than one damage is quite difficult, especially if you don't have the Magnum. We were blanking out a lot.
To be honest, I kind of wonder if I just not bothered bringing him on the table, would I have had that extra turn to kill that civilian? But, I mean, that's the thing.
But you spawned him in place of a regular mutant.
Yeah.
And then you never actually used him, so I don't think he took away an action from you, a turn from you.
No, but because he gave you 3.
Right.
If I'd have just used 1.
Right, yeah, then we would have been...
On 8.
Yeah.
So, but again, you might... Because you you used 5 actions. That could have been one action, I'm going to shoot at these 2 zombies, kill both of them, and then another one, I'm going to shoot this one zombie, kill it. You've got the same points cost, and you've still got actions left.
I mean, Miranda's our big damage dealer, and she basically spent her entire turn just taking out Fubar.
Yeah.
Using a helicopter.
I mean, I almost...
Get to the chopper.
When I had those -2 to your actions, I was almost going to use them both on her. The only thing I didn't want you to do is I didn't want you to heal Hammer.
Yes.
Because I
was very surprised when you took away Jenny's action points.
It was because I was hoping that I'd have... The instant card I used, I didn't want to have to use. I was hoping I'd have one guy upright to attack. He would kill Hammer. Then Jenny would have no actions left because she's panicking, and then I'd be able to use the other card and kill a civilian, another one. That was what I was hoping would happen. Or failing that, have a card with 1 attack on it, because the last 5 I had were just 1 attacks. As you're like, oh, if Ollie's got 4 attacks, I'm like, dream on! There's not a 4 in here. I don't even think there's a 3.
I really like this moment as well when we thought we'd gotten sort of away, and then you brought all the stunned ones back and mobbed us.
I was like...
But I was sitting on my sort of like secret, because the minute she went down to 1 action point, I was like, I know what we can do with that.
Yeah.
And then I was sort of sitting on that, trying not to be too giddy about it, because I didn't want to give the game away to you, in case you had the special card.
I did.
Which you could use to move the helicopter away.
But the thing is, that was the next turn, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, we could have. I suppose we could have. But you spent this on the turn that you raised them and moved them in here.
Yeah.
So if we'd moved the helicopter, or if you'd known we were going to do that, you might have saved that card, and then you could have had it on the last turn.
Well, the thing is though, I was hoping to get the points, and the thing was, if I didn't use that instant, I'd have had 3 move and 1 attack, which would have been that guy, move, swing. And then the only thing you can do is try and take him out. That's the only thing you're going to want to do is send her in so that he can't then kill off a civilian and win me the game. Which then do that, move the helicopter, or if you didn't move her in, kill a civilian, and I've won. That was kind of, by having to raise those minions, although it scared the crap out of you, I think that's probably what cost me it. Just because...
But I was scared that I was going to move the helicopter in here.
Yeah.
Or I was going to encourage you to do it.
Force your...
And then you were going to play the special and just move it right back out again. And I was going to be like, oh no.
I mean, the second you used the Death from Above and that interference went away, because that kept me from using a lot of those. Yeah. It was just going to be a wasted turn.
Yeah. It was a shame we didn't get to use interference, but...
Well, I didn't let you because...
No, yeah, because you didn't use the special card.
Yeah, I'm not. I knew that was there. I'm not going to give you the opportunity to make me lose a turn. I have few enough as it is.
What did you think, Michael?
I liked it.
Did you like winning? Did you like winning? And
I
the
liked
winning
it.
move.
It's a feeling that's very unusual to me, Ollie.
And yet you do it so often when we're in costume.
I know.
Well, yeah, it's for some
Maybe
reason you need to play in costume often.
No, I tell you what I really liked about it. I liked how because when we played the practice game,
I was terrible in that game.
It seemed very one-sided towards us, and I thought that would impede you when we actually played it. But what I quite liked about it, how everything seemed to balance out throughout the game, and how it was such a close game. I mean, in the end, it is quite. I say it's quite difficult. It's not that difficult. Just to make sure that you're keeping an eye on everything. But I don't think there's actually that. What I like is its simplicity, but the mechanics of it are quite simple. But there's obviously deep strategy involved. So it's complicated thought processes within a simple.
It's a really nice balance of sort of a very, very simple framework with enough sort of opportunities and complexities layered over it. So you've got these really agonizing and interesting decisions to make, but it's not so complex that you can't keep track of everything.
Yeah.
Because you need to know what we're thinking about. You need to be able to have insight into what our plan might be or what our strategies might be and follow what we're discussing. Mm-hmm. And we need to have some understanding of what you can do on your turn and what cards you might play. And so the uncertainty comes in because we don't know what's in your hand, and we may not know necessarily what all these cards are, depending on how much we've played. Mm-hmm. But what's great about it is that because you're only really playing like 2 cards, 1 card or 2 cards.
Yeah.
We don't have to like sort of try and imagine this incredible chain of moves you might do.
Yeah.
We've just got to go, okay, so if we stun these ones, then at least he can't attack us with those next turn. And if we move over here, at least he can't get us with those ones next turn. Mm-hmm.
Until undefeated minions.
Until undefeated minions comes up and sort of throws your plans out of whack. But that's great, because if it was so much more complex, it would be so hard to anticipate that. Yeah. And then it would become sort of such a brain burner that I don't think it would have the same kind of poppy excitement, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I found it quite funny because the as Michael said, the practice game, I felt it was going very much against me, but that taught me a lot about what I could do. I mean, like the first thing I realised, all these numbers are different, even on the same copy of the card. Yeah. That was a big thing to overlook on the first turn.
Make sure you look at the numbers on the bottom of the cards. Yeah,
well,
for sure.
I just assumed they'd all be copies. I didn't bother actually looking.
I mean, that's a fair assumption.
And it just means that you go, well, I've got these 2, so they're almost identical, but do I want to have an extra move or do I want to summon an extra zombie?
Yeah. Are all of them an 8 distribution? So do all the numbers add up to 8?
No. Don't think so.
No, not all of them. These ones all do.
Yeah.
That's a 3, 1, and a 2. So no. That's a 6.
This is a 6 here as well.
Although a lot of them do add up to 8.
6 and 8, I'm seeing a lot of. Yep.
Yeah, 6 and 8. Oh, there's 5.
Oh, so that's a really shit one. It's a bad card.
Yeah, but it's funny because a lot of the cards I saw early on, they had the best bottom stats, but they also wanted to use them for your action. But then you see a few of them where you're just like, you would never... Like, where is it? Like this one. Master Plan. So draw 3 cards. Or you can summon 6 zombies, move them once, and fight once. I'm not going to lie. Summoning 6 zombies is good. The other 2 things are crap. Yeah. Why would you ever not draw 3 cards? Unless that was the game-winning move.
And because you don't have a maximum hand size and you're drawing 4 cards every turn as well, it just gives you many more options, right? Having that scope of options is really, really strong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But did you find that having only 1 card to play each turn, or only sort of one thing to do, so he can play an instant if he's got one, and then he can play a card. The other thing that Ollie can do, which he didn't really get to do in our game here, was that he can play reaction cards out of ammo.
I didn't get a single one of them going.
So we have to roll one of these exclamation marks at a bad time. If we're shooting and we roll one of these, he can play out of ammo if he has it in hand, and then we can't shoot again that turn with that police officer.
Yeah,
and if
quite strong. If
we roll one of these when we're doing a melee attack, then he can play this bite card and do 2 damage to that officer, which is really powerful as well. But he has to have it in hand. So
I didn't manage to get a single one of those off because either I didn't have it when you rolled them, or I was holding on to it, and I had bites from the start of the game. You never got into close combat with me.
Yeah, we did. Well, close combat's not very good for us.
Considering she was...
But then she was quite not really in a position to go near people.
I think she probably did the least direct to me, because her thing was...
Plus, you were then getting rid of her ability.
The last...
You shut her down in the last turn, yeah.
Yeah, the last round, that was deliberate on my part. But it was funny that... I know the old version of the game was just if you rolled the exclamation mark, something bad happened.
Yeah,
and I wonder.
So how... in an older edition of these rules, these used to be much worse.
Yeah. And I wonder how bad it must have been that they changed it so significantly, because that puts all of the agency on me getting lucky with what they roll while having a card in hand, which.
It's a much smaller mechanic now, isn't it?
Yeah,
but on the other hand, I guess if it had been much more severe, this might not have even been as close as it was.
You say that, but it was because I was spending those reaction cards for their bottom cost, even when it wasn't that great a move. Like, I had a few of them where I'm essentially wasting them to get something done, but it was better than any other option. So, yeah, it helped, but I kind of wonder what it would have been like if I'd actually managed to pull off one of the reactions. You know, if... I can't even do it when I'm trying to do an example.
Well, there's only one of them on the die.
Yeah.
Well, you seem to roll them quite frequently then.
Well,
yeah, when I didn't have anything to... You rolled a double one at one point. I was like, oh, great. That would have been amazing. You know, if I had any card that could take advantage.
But did you... so where I was going sort of with that point, though, was did you find that you felt like you had too little to do? Or did you find watching what we were doing and checking the cards in your hand sort of gave you enough to do during the course of the game?
I'd say it was a little of both, because there were times when I was totally focused on what I had drawn and what I could do. And I'm coming up with all of these plans and backup plans because I don't know what you're going to do, but I can make a good guess by what you've got out on your board. But then there are other times where I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs because...
Are you committing?
Essentially, yeah.
Oh, that was fair, though.
But because you guys are just having an in-depth discussion, and I could have left the room for 10 minutes and come back and you would still have been discussing it.
True story. So Ollie was locked in here because we were filming it, having to just watch us deliberate.
I mean, if it was at home, I'd have got to make a cup of tea and a sandwich.
But I also really like that when I'm the one versus many. I like to sort of sit and listen to the players and hear their different.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're a really good manipulator, which means it's really hard to manipulate you.
What?
Like, it's really hard to convince you to take a suboptimal move because you're like, oh, I'd say that if I was doing this, so I'm instantly suspicious of this bit of advice.
I don't know why, but the difference between the practice game and this game, it felt there was a lot less civilians in here.
There were.
Because Ollie killed a bunch more of them.
Maybe.
He didn't get to kill any in the practice game.
Also, in the practice game, we were constantly drawing 2, whereas 2 of these cards were 1 civilian.
Maybe that's why then.
Yeah, so we had 2 less civilians and Ollie killed more of them.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
I mean, that helped
and
me
I
a
think
lot.
that's quite pivotal in this scenario, because you're wanting to kill them and we're wanting to save them.
Yeah.
So
But what's interesting as well is that it's easier for Ollie to kill civilians and it's easier for us to kill mutants.
Yeah.
Because we have to get the civilian and bring them to the helicopter and then pay 2 action points to evacuate them.
Yeah.
Whereas Ollie just needs to move into a space and do a damage.
Yeah. And then he gets the point, whereas we have to kill 10 to get 1.
Yeah, that's true.
But I suppose then he has to
5 attacks.
We get 5 actions per cop. Ollie gets a card, right?
And each attack can kill
so it all kind
a zombie outright.
But that actually creates this really cool sense of sort of threat and danger.
Yeah.
Like, especially when we had to do this thing over here with Marcellus Hammer to pick up these 2 and sort of just get them sort of away from you and try and keep them safe.
Because yours are guaranteed, whereas ours is with dice roll.
But that's great, because if Ollie's damage wasn't guaranteed and it wasn't so threatening, there wouldn't be this sense of danger. There wouldn't be a game. Yeah, it would just be it would be. It's because as the good guys, as the cops, having that sort of certainty that if we don't protect these civilians, they'll die, creates this really sort of edgy threat that we really have to think about and work against.
And also, my damage is capped quite heavily. Like, I can do more than 1 damage in a turn by attacking. If you leave, I could have 5 mutants in there, and you're only going to take 1 damage. Or, depending on the character, you might take none. So, the guarantee of damage is offset by the fact that you could kill 2 zombies with every shot you make.
Yeah.
Like, your maximum damage output kills 10 with every single person.
And it gets better as we level up.
Yeah, which, I'm not going to lie, the leveling up, the difficulty curve of dealing with you guys just takes a quantum leap. Because you're all of a sudden able to do these crazy shenanigans.
But then on the other hand, we're tracking down our hit points as well, and so we get, because it's so easy to imagine, they just come back, it's no big deal, but 1 point is obviously a game making thing.
Yeah.
So if we're in the sort of towards the end of the game and everybody's on like 1 or 2 hit points, then we're everybody's a liability now, and it's like we're not just playing that game where we're trying to mitigate the civilians and keep them safe. Yeah. We're now having to mitigate all of our guys as well, and that's just it becomes impossible and unmanageable, right?
But it's also what makes the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's what makes it a game. Yeah. So that's why, and that's one of I actually really like it for that. I've played a lot of these sort of like one versus many games. We played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the channel. Ben and I played a bunch of Street Masters, although that's co-op. That's not one versus many, but it has a similar kind of feel, and I like this one. I think the best of all the ones I've played. I don't know why. I think it's just because it felt like the positioning of the pieces, the order in which we activated, the maneuvering of them, all felt very important and very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You can't just do it willy-nilly. There's got to be some logical thought behind it.
Yeah.
But, it feels almost like sort of a little game of chess.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Although I do find it funny that one of the core mechanics for being the bad guy is the ability to swarm the board, and you've got to offset that against how many mutants you think you're going to lose. I do think it'd be quite interesting playing with some of the other special characters because they're not quite as one-dimensional as Fubar.
Yeah, well, I mean, we really did just
nuked the crap out of him.
Did just. He was very scary, Ollie.
You did the Higgs approach. We're going to nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to make sure.
Yeah, it's the only way to make sure.
But then we were looking.
We're going to nuke it from orbit and then fill the tile full of bullets.
So we were only able to do that because of your special. We were only able to do that for
burst fire.
I mean, it was serendipitous, really, that we just had that combo on the table at that time.
Yeah.
And again, it was still an agonizing decision whether or not to do that or deal with this situation here. Mm-hmm. And again, if we didn't have authority, we couldn't have then sort of tried to mitigate that, which didn't really work out, but sort of did.
Well, I mean, looking back on it, the thing I could have done differently, I could have done undefeated minions stand up, and that was it. Or I could have just drawn a card that turn, then forced you to use Jenny.
Yeah.
She'd have done whatever. Then I could have used instant stand up and then moved it, as you say.
Do you mean the Furious Nurse?
The Furious Nurse, Jenny.
Furious Jenny.
Furious Nurse. I love Furious Nurse.
But I could, like, looking back on it, I could have done that, and that would have been, I'd have been on 5 victory points. You'd have been on 4. And then that would have prolonged it for the next turn, and then possibly the next turn I could have picked it up. Mm-hmm. But that's hindsight's amazing for that. But it still felt like I was making the right choices. Which is, it's funny in a game like this because often you can end up playing cards and just looking at, oh, that was terrible, that was stupid, that was just awful, why am I doing this? It's actually kind of refreshing not to have that feeling. Good mechanics. I was surprised you didn't use this. I kind of hoped you'd forgotten about it.
I just never really had the spare action point.
Yeah, that's it.
The problem with Miranda is she was sort of one of my main characters. Dealers. Yeah, she was. Well, I had both of the main damage dealers, actually. Between her sharpshooter burst fire and his magnum, Michael was more of a sort of a positioning and... well, no, Michael was all about sort of positioning and moving the civilians around and making sure we had the stuff where we needed it, when we needed it there. Yeah. Whereas these two were more kind of like, right, we need to make sure we don't get swarmed and have all our positions blocked by mutants. Because, if you get too many on the board, we're just gonna have areas that we can't go.
Yeah.
And, if we're not defeating them, we're just stunning them, then, you get this card and suddenly we're in really bad times.
Yeah. I am curious how much more you might have struggled if Blast wasn't on the table. I think he's a surprisingly good...
Oh, the dog?
Yeah. Because he's worth nothing to me if I kill him. He's just an annoyance.
Yeah, he's just a heroic irritant.
Yeah.
Good puppy.
But I wonder how that would have changed your play.
Who took a boy?
I'm going to hit you with a shoe.
I like that he's there, though, because it sort of gives you this extra sort of piece to move around and consider.
Well, it lets you block off more of the board because you just go, oh, okay, so that group of 3, now it's a group of 2. Mm-hmm. And Miranda's now going to shoot into there. I mean, I worry that this might be because of poor writing, but some of the cards allow you to do a lot of, like the rocket launcher, which didn't really...
So we did have one rocket launcher in this game, and it says deal 2 damage to each mutant on target space and 1 damage to each mutant on spaces adjacent to it. Now, what it doesn't say is this is a shooting attack or the spaces without civilians or officers.
Yeah.
So this basically turns it into sort of a sniper rocket launcher. And to be fair, in this game, we didn't use it that way.
Yeah.
But you could quite easily fire this into a space full of civilians and not damage them.
Yeah, and that's
if you take it rules as read.
In the practice game, we had 3 of those come out, which was just
that was hilarious.
Quite infuriating. But it's stuff like that where it's like, I kind of wish that was tighter because there's a lot of...
But it will be. It's still in development.
There was a lot of points where it's like, does this mean this, or am I being a little bit too whack?
Yeah, well...
But it's a game that's still improving, so that's something we can see change.
But I thought actually for a prototype, for a game that's coming onto Kickstarter, it was very solid already.
Yeah, I mean, it's a full game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I still find it funny, the boards. They're double-sided, so you can play more than one map, and the maps aren't all edge on edge. They move around, which I like the thought of because, I mean, if you have every map like that, it's going to get fairly repetitive.
So not all the maps are square, and some of them actually involve you moving sort of between maps. So what you'll do is you'll pick up the boards, you'll put down something else, and then as you move through that area, you'll pick up something else again. I think there's like something with sewers.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't really know how it all works, but there's 5 episodes in the rulebook. So this was episode 1. It goes up to episode 5, but I think there's more stuff planned as well, especially if the Kickstarter is successful. So
quite literally, I'll be back.
Yeah. So
next time.
So you would play it again then?
Yeah, I was having far too much fun. I would want to be Dr. Zero again because.
Would you be interested in playing as the cops?
Yeah, I mean the only thing is being Dr. Zero, you're only responsible to yourself. So if you screw up, you've only got yourself to blame. Being on a team means that you're also letting down your teammate, which is a bit of a harder pill to swallow.
Would you play again, Michael?
It's cooperative. It's not to betray a mechanic.
To an extent.
To be fair, it's while he's thinking.
Why not?
Why not?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of the differences between the co-op games that I've played.
Well, a good comparison for this would be like Hero Quest.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the best thing about Hero Quest.
But Hero Quest is
you were Morcar in Hero Quest, so you were the Dr. Zero character.
Yeah.
I just realised we've all played the villain in a game like this, and every time the villain lost, and it came down to the wire on each one.
You were also here for the others, where I was the villain and I won.
I don't count that because I'm counting the 3 of us being here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's funny. In all 3 one versus many games we've played together on the channel, the villain has always lost. Yeah.
Huh.
So,
and they were all very close. Yeah.
But yeah, I quite like it. I actually really like the design of it. I think it's this sort of like retro.
I know what you mean.
Style of design. I think it looks quite.
It's not overly cluttered as well.
Yeah, I think it looks quite cool. And what I find that could happen, I think, in this is if you've got people who take their time to think about things or not as quite clued up on it, they could get railroaded into just being told what to do.
You think it might be prone to alpha gaming?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so that's just a thought, but...
yeah, I definitely think that.
Or if you've got 2 people that are so adamant that their strategy is the best, then you could have hours and hours of like...
If you're lucky...
Did you feel like I was alpha gaming you a bit?
No.
I feel like I gave you plenty of opportunities.
I was going to say, if you know 2 people that do that, just put one of them as Dr. Zero and the other one's one of the cops, and then you've got them fighting against each other.
True.
No, I don't think so.
I hope not.
But You definitely had more of the plans than I did. But that was the same with Ollie in our previous game as well.
Get on the train! Stab him in the heart!
But that's not to say that I hadn't thought of a strategy, particularly with using this
you pretty much had you pretty much had that in-game strategy down.
So yeah, I think I would.
I would love to play it again. I think it was a lot of fun. I'd like to try being Dr. Zero. I'd like to try being the cops again. I'd like to try the other episodes. I hope that as you introduce more mechanics and stuff with the further episodes, it doesn't overcomplicate things too much or add too much sort of more random stuff happening. I'd like to see these extra pieces, though. I'd like to see how the cops develop if they have the opportunity to get more of these abilities and stuff. I liked the development of the asymmetrical abilities. I really liked this as well, and that there were these sort of cinematic opportunities. Yeah. We only used 2 of these cards here, but I like the idea.
Great effect.
It's a great effect. And I like the idea of more of those coming out as well. So I'm really interested to see. And, the loot cards, I like those as well. That was a sort of a fun way to grab some extra abilities, and suddenly you might have more opportunities as well. But, at what cost, right? Because obviously we're not going to run across the board here to grab these 2 when it's going to jeopardize the civilians.
Yeah. Although if you do want to play as Dr. Zero, you know what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to get a lab coat.
Yeah.
And go on an online course for 6 days.
But the episode 2 actually has a truck of mutagens in the center of the board with the mutants rushing in to grab the mutagens and get off the board with it. And the cops are trying to stop them. So it's kind of an interesting, different, almost inverse of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is more sort of fight over the objectives, but it's interesting how that dynamic will change in episode 2. So I'm excited. I'd be interested to play that too.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I think that just about wraps up our final thoughts on Hard City. Thanks so much for coming on this adventure with us, you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And this has given you a good idea about whether this is something that you're interested in backing on Kickstarter. So you've probably found these videos through the Kickstarter campaign. It's probably live now, unless you're watching this in the future. But I mean, the distant future.
Yes.
How distant are we talking? Like 6 months or 60 years?
Yeah, but these things, if they're successful, often go on to late pledge and everything as well.
That's also true.
There's probably an opportunity, if the Kickstarter was successful, for you to get involved. But I hope we've helped you come to your decision, and that even if you just came along for the ride, you've enjoyed coming on this ride with us, because we sure have been enjoying taking the ride ourselves.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the future for another series and another fun adventure.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.
See you soon.